Coming this summer from Paramount Pictures, the sequel you've all been waiting for. Edward Furlong, Anthony Edwards, and Highlander's own Clancy Brown. In the sequel event of the year. Everything you liked about the original Pet Sematary, but with none of the sensibilities.
Motorcycle murders.
Dead cats? We got 'em.
Overacting.
Dead rabbits too.
Inappropriate sexual activity around minors.
And Edward Furlong now with 50% more voice crack. This summer, Paramount Pictures, sorta, kinda, I guess, proudly presents Pet Sematary 2, Necromancing Boogaloo.
That's when I'm under pressure now. The question always gets back to me. What were they thinking now? Whoa, what were they thinking? What were they thinking?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of What Were They Thinking? I am in the closet recording this.
And I tell them it's 2019. Live your best life.
I'm staying in here. So
well, you know what? As soon as you're allowed to, once you're brave enough to face the people that you love with your truths, Brendan, I'll be there to support you.
I'll be there.
Yep.
I'll be there.
Just like the Jackson 5.
Just call my name. Okay, we gotta get sued.
Or Mariah Carey, who did that unplugged thing for, MTV.
Well, obviously she did the superior version.
It was weird about that. It was Mariah Carey unplugged. Mariah Carey doesn't play an instrument.
Wait, wait, what are you talking about? Mariah Carey jams on that electric guitar.
Yeah.
But you're Nathan.
I am Nathan, and you're Brandon?
Brendan,
right?
Yeah, you close.
Okay.
It's okay. It happens never happens. But we are here to continue Schlocktober, the scariest month of the year. To talk about a movie that may be scary for the reasons it doesn't intend to be.
Oh boy.
Nathan, I know you're a giant fan of the original Pet Sematary.
I am, actually. For all of its moving parts and showing warts, I love that original one. There's just a certain amount of true visceral horror, but there's also a good swath of it that is 50s B-movie overacting. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful mixture of everything I love about movies.
Oh, shit. Everything you learned from movies, too?
No. Everything I love about movies. That other thing's... That's not a thing.
Who says that?
All right? Fucking nobody. Weirdos, right?
Silly. That's some Mormon shit right there.
Right? Polygamists, that's who says that sort of stuff.
Who are Steve's other wives? That's what I want to know. We are, of course, talking about the sequel to that movie that Nathan likes. I like it too. But this is a sequel to that movie, Pet Sematary 2.
Necromancing Boogaloo.
I wish. It's directed by the same person, Mary Lambert.
That is the most mind-blowing thing about this whole experience.
Well, and if I had to guess, because I tried to look up some information about this. There isn't a whole lot out there because I know this will shock everyone, but Pet Sematary 2 is not exactly on the tip of everyone's tongues in 2019.
Right.
But there isn't a lot of information.
We're going to change that, though. We're going to change that today, Brendan.
We're bringing it back.
Everyone's going to be talking about it. It's going to be the next internet sensation for like The Room or something.
Internet sensation.
Yes,
lighten up
they
the
would have
nation.
got our suggestion will have fueled the resurgence of Pet Sematary 2. Gonna be huge. Gonna be huge.
Yes, Pet Sematary 2. So what I was going to say is, not a lot of info out there, but I know that Mary Lambert ran into a lot of issues with the studio.
Oh, so we got a Bakshi Henry Selick situation here. Yeah?
I believe so, and I mean, I'm probably going to side with her because having seen the first one and knowing what she was more capable of, I feel like she was probably waylaid on this one.
Yes, because the first one, again, it has that overacting quality, but there is some legitimate horror that at times, even viewing it now, gives me anxiety. The only anxiety I had about this movie was that I had to watch it.
Well, your only anxiety was, when are the credits going to roll? But this movie stars Edward Furlong a year after Terminator 2, so he is like at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, white hot. Right,
decides to do another sequel right after this, or right after Terminator. We have Anthony Edwards from ER, which I don't believe ER started airing yet.
No, this was just before ER started, so his biggest role at that time would have been Top Gun.
Yeah, so this launched him into the stratosphere.
It certainly may have made him go, you know what, maybe I should reconsider television.
And of course, Clancy Brown from a movie that everyone knows and loves, Highlander. And a bunch of other people that I didn't really take notice of. Those are the people in this movie. This is Pet Sematary 2. Let's just get into this, shall we?
Yes, let's. Sooner begun, sooner done.
Because I will say that I first watched this when I was very young. Mm-hmm. So this movie actually terrified me as a child. My viewing was a little different this time. We start off with a, like... It looks like when I first saw this again, like watching this for the podcast, I was like, I don't remember this taking place in like this time period, because we start in this old castle and there's like thunder and lightning outside and there's a woman like going down this circular stairs, and I'm like, this is a period piece? Like, what is going on? But no, we are on a film set, and Eddie Furlong's mom, I don't remember her name in this movie. Renee, okay, right, because it's on all the boxes. But she is an actress. I feel like she's not like a huge actress if she's doing a movie like this.
No. And the only person of any real note at that actual time may have been Edward Furlong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I mean, not the actress playing Renee, but the actress that Renee is playing.
The character that the actress is playing. Okay.
Yeah, like I feel like she's not supposed to be like a huge deal. But then I have a lot of questions about the different movies she's in. But anyway, I'll get to that later. But yeah, she's walking down these stairs and she's doing this horror movie. And of course, you know, somebody fucks up. They yell, "Cut! All right, come on, prop guy. You're not hitting your mark. You keep grabbing her boob.
I can't see a thing down there.
Surely nothing's gonna go wrong in this scene, sir."
Yeah, come on. Where is the... There should have been somebody doing some sort of... I have a note. Oh, so she works for Carlco. The same people that filmed The Crow.
Yeah. Oh my god, yes. This is like... Yeah, this is the
no safety standards at all.
Most dangerous film shoot I've ever seen. Like, this is clearly like a studio. Or a set or whatever. Yeah. But they don't have like safeguards in place. Like, this is not like 1950. This is 1992.
At one point, there's a guy just standing around with a running hose. Like, the fuck?
This is not the fucking Genghis Khan John Wayne movie that killed everyone. This is a regular shoot in the 90s.
On a soundstage. And like you said, yes, after this, they did go on to make The Crow. Thankfully, there were no issues on that set. But there are issues on this set because first of all, we meet Eddie Furlong. He's there with his mom. He's there on the set. And I guess him and the director must be good pals, because he's just sitting right beside the director, just watching the monitor, which I feel like most directors would be like, I know you're the actor's kid, but no, you can't do this. But he has one of those reveals, like, you know when you're watching a movie and like a famous person shows up in a cameo and they do this slow like turnaround and you're like, oh, it's that person. Yeah.
He totally has one of those introductions. Like, he turns around and it's like, hey kids, it's Eddie Furlong. Which I guess makes sense because of Terminator 2, but I just thought that was funny. A funny way to introduce him. But he loves his mom. His parents are separated at this point. I believe he's living with his mom. And they're planning on the mom and dad getting together and having dinner.
Yeah, they're separated. They're not divorced, so they're trying to work it out. And he said Dad wants to come down to the set for dinner if you're okay with that. But don't get your hopes up. He's like, I know, Mom.
It'd be great if that was the actual voice he used the whole movie.
Man, every single time. Like, even when I watched that terrible direct-to-video Crow 4,
Ooh.
he's in that.
What?
And, that's a small screen shameful coming. I guarantee you.
Oh my god.
What
What year?
Dave Borneas and Tara Reid are in it. Dennis Hopper was still alive, and Danny Trejo's in it. So that kind of gives you
god.
Yeah.
Holy shit, did Tara Reid and Edward Furlong have a more fucked up off?
Well, I think Tara Reid, as far as characters go, would have won in that one because her and David Borneas are they're the big bads. They're like the ones who cause Edward Furlong the strife, and he has to return from the grave to avenge his death and his girlfriend's death. Yeah.
Avenge me! Avenge me!
Best part about that movie, Dennis Hopper plays a white pimp who thinks he is very urban.
This is kind of like Harvey Keitel in Taxi Driver.
Oh, to the nth degree. Okay, think of the most stereotypical. Think of Rudy Ray Moore in Dolomite. That is how Dennis Hopper was talking in this movie.
Oh boy.
The book. Kiss it, bitch.
Yeah.
Well then, so
Pet Sematary 2.
Pet Sematary 2. Back to this, yeah. So, that whole thing happens. And then they go back to shoot the next scene, or shoot the scene again, and tragedy strikes. There's some water that pours out, and
because the guy's standing around with the hose.
Yeah, he's just spraying it everywhere, spraying it all over the electrical equipment. His mother grabs the fence like she's supposed to in the scene and gets hilariously electrocuted.
Oh my god.
When I saw this, I said, oh, this is just part of the scene, until everybody starts freaking out. I was like, I thought this was still the movie within the movie, because her acting's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like the actress who plays Renee. So I was like, what is going on? She's
my biggest qualm with this is that it was, you said what, 92?
2. Yeah.
92. Circuit breakers were a thing. And I don't know how familiar you are with electrical wiring and circuit breakers, but the way they work is if there's the kickback, like someone's getting electrocuted and the electricity is not going where it's supposed to go, it's supposed to trip the breaker. So the person doesn't stand there continuing to be electrocuted. One jolt, big jolt, could kill you, but you won't just stand there like
also
a cartoon.
No one makes a decent attempt to get her away from it.
Well, if it's a Carl co-production, they made him like, I'm not getting paid enough.
Yeah, they're just standing around letting letting the mom die, so she dies. Eddie gives it a good mom.
I don't that fucking still his presence does not deter me from watching Terminator 2 at least twice a year.
He's not bad in that. I feel like he's better in that because he's got a kind of a charm to him sometimes. In Terminator 2, he's younger.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I don't know, as he got older, I feel like he got less endearing.
He suffered a severe case of the Clint Howards.
Clint Howard has always been adorable. What are you talking about? So after this happens, so she dies. They have a funeral. Here's my first question, actually, because they're in LA, right?
I believe so.
Okay. And they have the funeral in Maine?
That's where she's from, I think, because she was an alumni at the high school.
I mean, I would have thought, I think it would, like, it's just weird to me, like, that they don't have the funeral there and then travel to Maine to, like, live at that little house or whatever.
Well, I mean, even if she was a union actress and getting lead roles on the steady, even if they're in B movies, she's still making all right money. And if she knows, the quality of the work she puts out, like she doesn't have a big head about her being amazing, rather than like, you know what, this is good money, I'm going to put out the best I can, but I'm not winning any Oscars anytime soon. She can put that money away and say, like, if and when I pass, please bury me in my home state of Maine.
It just was weird to me that they went like literally coast to other side of the country.
Right.
I don't know if she saves her money though. She's got like 6 boxes of fancy clothes.
Oh my god, the fucking yes. The shit that they cart in when they move into the house.
Oh yeah, so they have the funeral. Not a whole lot happens there. We get introduced to Gus, who kind of shoos the photographers away because again, she's kind of a celebrity. Gives his condolences, but there's something off about him. Obviously, it's Clancy Brown. He's not playing a good guy, and we find out
he's not entirely a bad guy either.
Well, not yet.
I mean? Well, yeah, not yet.
But we find out basically that Anthony Edwards and
Edward
Eddie Furlong are moving to Maine to get as far away as possible from LA. And I guess if you want to get as far away as possible, that's a pretty fucking good place to go.
Yeah.
And also it's Stephen King, so of course we're in Maine. So
well, it's not Stephen King. It's just a continuation of characters that existed in the same universe.
Well, that's what I mean. Like a sequel to a Stephen King work. So it's yeah. So they move in, and we I guess they're rich enough to have a housekeeper. Because she comes over to be their new housekeeper in this little house, which I honestly like. I think they don't need one, because I mean he's a vet, which yes, it's a demanding job. I mean Eddie Furlong's going to school. Like I think they'll be fine just living in that little house. But she is their housekeeper, and she is like, oh, I loved your wife. She was wonderful. Oh, these are clothes. I'm just gonna put my hands all over these clothes. And Eddie Furlong's like, basically, fuck off. Like,
don't touch my mom's stuff.
Yeah, which I wrote down, like, he's kind of a shit kid when he said that, but also, like, maybe just, like, tone it down a notch, new housekeeper.
His, shit kiddery, if I could coin a term, is all over the place in this movie.
Oh,
because there are times when he is insufferable, and then there are other times where he's like, sure, Dad, I'll be glad to help. Keen.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the moment where one of those moments where he is sure I'll be glad to help, because Anthony Edwards is like, well, I'm gonna go check out my new offices at the vets. Yeah. And Eddie's like, oh, I want to go. But
in like the 2 scenes previous, maybe he's like, you're the one who wanted to move here.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's also the writing.
Yes.
That's not doing him any favors. I mean,
no.
We've said numerous times on this podcast, like it's easy to blame the actors, but it's most of the time it's the writing and the directing.
You can only work with what you're given.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a bomb. Brad Pitt was in Cool World. Case closed.
Yeah, that's the only one.
Yeah, the only bad movie Brad Pitt's been in. So Eddie is looking around at this vet office. He's checking out the kennels, and he gets attacked. By a tiny little kitten in one of the most tropey jump scare horror movie moments, where the cat is like, when it attacks him, it's like the meanest thing ever, and then you see it's like a tiny kitten.
And it's so cute.
It is adorable. And he wants to keep it, so Anthony Edwards is like, well, you help me clean out these kennels and you can have them.
Yeah.
And we meet the other animal in the film, because Zowie comes in, this big, huge, I guess, is like part husky, I think?
Yes, and I saw it, and I was like, wowie, Zowie! Wrestling reference secured.
Zowie comes in and is being held by Drew, the young man who owns this dog. And surprise, surprise, his stepfather is Gus.
Yeah.
So Zowie got his nose stuck in a rabbit cage, got scratched up, so he gives him some drops. Gus is also shows kind of how gross he is in this scene. Because he's like, hey, your mom. Sorry about your mom. I used to bang her back in high school.
Pretty much.
Like, fuck. Dude, she just died.
Yeah, which again plays against his original introduction as a character, because he was like, "Be respectful, gentlemen. Be respectful. Be respectful."
Yeah, isn't that weird that they introduce him like that? But he's basically like he ends up being basically
total
one of the
skis.
Yeah, and I mean ultimately he ends up being one of the villains.
Yes.
Which is it's yeah.
Yeah. We just have to plow through it, buddy.
So yeah. So anyway, they have this little moment. I will say that Clancy Brown in this movie is kind of my I'm trying to save this thing, because his performance is wild, but it's the thing that I feel like he knows exactly what this movie is supposed to be.
He is, yes, the bright
And
spot. His
giving it
choices.
his all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, he's eating all the scenery.
Sometimes literally.
Yeah, that's true. Forgot about that.
And he's just like, I think he was like, no one's gonna say Clancy Brown ever phoned it in.
Oh, no, man. He's a fucking great underrated actor.
Consummate, yeah, professional all the way.
So they have this whole thing. He has my first little thing that I like that he does is Drew, the young man who owns Zowie, is hears about the cats because they're giving away the kittens to a good home, and he looks up at Gus, and Gus is like, "Not our home, buddy."
And I guess that's one of the few things I have to take Clancy to task on. And hit me up on Twitter, Clancy, if you got any. His main accent appears and disappears at the most random of times.
Oh, at first I thought he was doing what Judd did in the first one.
That's a main accent. Yeah.
He's doing like a light version of that, but then sometimes he just uses his real voice.
And that's what I mean. Like that accent, if you're from there, it's not a put on. And if he's supposed to be from there, because he went to high school there, stayed there, became the sheriff, yeah, that accent should stick with him the whole time.
Clancy Brown here, and for Pepperidge Farm.
He starts out when he's talking, Gus, buddy, you gotta get a hold of that dog.
Yeah, you gotta get a hold of that dog Zowie there. You don't want him getting in the rabbit cage.
But then every once in a while, it's like, especially when he's in a more heated moments later, no accent, none whatsoever. And I can't get on it too much because, Montrose has a accent that's spotty at best.
Well, that's Monkey.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, so Eddie Furlong brings his new kitten to school for some reason.
Yeah.
And
first day of high school. That's what you do. Bring a kitten. That's good.
Yeah,
You're not going to stand out as the weird kid at all.
It's like, you have a home now. Just leave it at home. Get the litter box and be on your... You have a housekeeper. Mm-hmm. Leave your fucking cat at home. I'm pretty sure she can take care of your fucking kitten.
Yes.
But, of course, because of this, he runs into the bully of the school, or the bullies, but led by Clyde.
Yeah.
And he's so, like, he is the 90s movie bully.
Oh, yeah,
like,
100%.
Just like, hey, I heard your mom died. Heard she was real fried and everything. That sucks. It was real gross, I heard. And I don't know. I don't know if, okay, I'm sure there are bullies. I'm sure there are bullies that are this cruel. I've never encountered one that's like that much. Like, as cruel as some of these movies show them. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Is this a thing? Like,
I don't know, man. Like, I never encountered anything as drastic as that, like making fun of someone, because their parents died. But I do have it on good authority that way back when my mom was going to school and her dad passed away, she apparently got teased about that. I'm like, that's kind of fucked.
That's fucked up.
Right?
Yeah, that's... I've never... Yeah, because like I see it in movies and I'm like, that doesn't happen as often as the movies tell us it does.
But I feel that if that were to happen, that the teachers would be like, we need to look at this kid as a possible sociopath.
We need to isolate this child's file.
Well, I mean, that's an emotional line that you are crossing when you do something like that, meaning that you have none.
Well, yeah, and speaking of serial killer intentions, this bully steals the kitten.
So there you go. We got the uncaringness to make fun of somebody about their mom dying, and then he's perfectly fine with possibly hurting a small animal.
Right, so he takes it, and the bullies all drive away, so Drew is there too. Drew's kind of with them.
And then
which I thought was weird.
not. The relationship with the bully throughout the movie, for me, was weird at best. Because there's times when they're like friends with him.
Yeah, because he hangs out with them. They even tell him, they don't treat him well. They're like, come on, lard ass. But he's always like, he's always with them for the first like few minutes of the movie. So they go off on a high speed bike chase. And by the way, this whole time, Eddie Furlong is almost caught up to them. Like, he's like right behind them. And then somehow they've managed to stop, walk up to the pet cemetery, put the cat in a cage in the pet cemetery, come back before Eddie Furlong gets to them.
There is so many inconsistencies with how time works within this movie. It's ridiculous.
Well, and much like last week, I guess we'll just have to say that the bullies are Time Lords.
Apparently.
Gotta be. There will become Keanu Reeves dogs. And no, I'm not talking about John Wick. So yeah, they put the cat in the pet cemetery cage, and Eddie Furlong shows up and has a dust up with the bully. He actually punches him in the face, but then he gets the shit beat out of him.
Yeah, but you miss every shot you don't take, right?
Yeah, he got one shot in.
Got a good one in. I mean, you don't win them all, that's for sure.
Drew shows up to tell him. We kind of get a little bit like, oh, this is the pet cemetery, blah, blah, blah. You bury something here, whatever. It's just an old story, etc. Moving on. Gus is getting a little upset with the whole Zowie messing with the rabbits, so he installs an electrified fence around them.
Okay, so Gus doesn't understand how electricity works.
Right.
Because he wires up the cage so that if Zowie comes along and sticks her snout in the cage, it's going to get electrocuted. Electricity travels on both sides of that fence. So he's basically electrocuting his own rabbits.
Well, I'm assuming he's going to eat them anyway, right?
Well, no, he's selling them.
Oh.
There was a sign out front that said rabbits, $10, great for pets, meat, or fur.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, I guess, that doesn't make a lot of sense. He also makes Drew put Zowie outside. He's like, I don't remember inviting Zowie in for dinner. And he sends Zowie outside. Gus shows more of how much of a kind of a shit he is, because he's like, come on, lard ass, you can't eat that much dinner.
Well, and that's it, too. Like, up until the part where he says, show your mother some appreciation for the meal she cooked.
Yeah.
Not that much appreciation is just his exact line. Up until that, though, it was very standard country dad stuff.
Yeah, I mean, still like a dick.
Strict is a bit of, kind of strict with the discipline, but it's really all, as far as he's concerned, in the best interest of the boy, so he is raised well with a good work ethic and pride in his house, not to have dogs running around inside making a mess.
Right. But yeah, he's an asshole in the scene. He makes fun of her for being fat and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then he starts getting his fuck on.
Oh, he is 100% enamored with Gus's mom.
Oh, and she's pretty cute.
She is super cute.
Yeah. She can get it. Am I right? But while they're doing that, he hears the dog outside, and he says, okay, that's it. Gets out of bed.
Just 1 second before we run into that, I have a note that I wanted to mention specifically about the rabbit cage. Do you remember the scene when we're introduced to him at the rabbit cage as he was getting ready to electrify it?
Yeah.
A couple of rabbits boning. He's sitting there watching it, petting another rabbit with a big smile on his face.
Oh, I did not notice that.
Fucking creepy. Anyhow, so this is what we get the insight as to what Gus's character is about, because not only does he like to watch rabbit fuck, but he also likes to fuck like a rabbit. See, I tied that back in, brought it back around. Now we're back to them in the bedroom. Boom, done.
Yep. So, yeah, he hears the dog outside. Gus is like, that's it. I warned him about that dog. He grabs his shotgun and fucking shoots the dog like dead. Despite Drew being like, what the hell are you doing? So here's my thing is like, I don't understand why the mom or the wife or whatever, or she's not his wife, but actually I don't know if they're married or not.
They're married.
Okay.
Well, the stepdad.
She is like, I mean, she sells it. Like, she's like, oh, what have you done? But then, like, 2 scenes later, she's like, hi, Gus.
Yeah.
I'm like, he just shot your dog.
You shot your
like,
kid's dog.
Your kid's dog, who is like, I mean, yeah, sure, maybe a handful, but I think that's a step too far.
A little bit.
So, I will tell you this, Nathan. Like, obviously, you know, animal murders. I've talked about it before on the podcast, but
hashtag animal murder.
Yeah, but when I was a kid and seeing this movie, this scene where Drew is like sitting there with his dog while that song is playing, it ruined me. Like,
what song?
This song plays. It's called "Fading Away."
Okay.
I look into your eyes and I see nothing there. I feel you fading away.
And I was just like a mess. When I first saw this when I was a kid, I just lost it. Like, bawled my eyes out.
I had another friend of my mom's, actually, when this video, because I saw it on VHS, I'm that old, they got it at the store, and my mom's friend, she was working there or running the place or something, and I had asked her if she'd seen it, because I was like, I didn't see this go to theaters. Apparently it did, but it must have been like a Gem in the Holograms type of quickness.
Oh, yeah, this thing made, I didn't even mention that. It made about $17 million at the theater.
Yeah. And so she said, no, I haven't watched it. I can't watch it because someone told me something happens to a dog, and I just can't watch that sort of stuff. And I have another friend at work who will not watch John Wick because of what happens with the dog. So, yeah, you're not alone, buddy. But, you know, hashtag dog murder.
Well, I mean, I can watch them. I'm always like a little like... Ooh.
You have to pause it, take a breath. It's really high anxiety type stuff.
Yeah, it's just a little queasy when it happens, that's all. Every time I see an animal in a horror movie, like, being introduced, I'm like, oh, fuck.
Meanwhile, kill that kid!
No, I never... No, my thing with the kids getting murdered in horror movies is that they almost never do.
Yeah.
They're like, you know, they're safe for the whole movie. And it's like, that's fine. But when it happens, I'm like, okay, finally. Like, it's just like, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be, I don't know.
I recently watched one called Bloody Birthday. What a fucking, Jesus. It's all about 3 kids who decide to go on a murder spree to celebrate their 10th birthday.
Wow.
Those are words that I spoke. The movie was made in like 1980 something.
Nathan, I'll ask you this. Have you seen Beware Children at Play?
No, but I do want to see it, because I did. Apparently it was just covered over on the Halloween hustle, so...
I would love to see your reaction to the last 10 minutes of that movie.
Okay.
I'll just say that. It's wild. Trauma, of course.
Of course.
So, Pet Sematary 2. Zowie, of course, dies from being shot by Gus. And
Drew apparently paints himself with Zowie's blood.
Oh yeah, it's like all over him.
Like, I can understand, like, down around his midsection where he was carrying the dog, but it's like up around his face and stuff.
Yeah, he did the whole thing where it's like when fucking Brock Lesnar destroyed Hulk Hogan and just put his blood all over his chest.
Yeah. Or I was gonna say Neil Breen.
Oh yeah.
When Jim, I can't believe you did this.
I can't believe you committed suicide. I cannot believe you committed suicide. How could you have done this? How could you have committed suicide? I can't help you out of this one, Jim.
Oh, I'll never forget that movie.
Ugh, I spread that disease to a couple of friends
I'm so glad you did.
a week or so back. One of them said, I may never forgive you for this.
I would be thanking you.
The other ones did.
Perfect. Drew's covered in blood. He meets up with Eddie Furlong. He's like, we need to bury Zowie. And of course, he wants to bury him in the Pet Sematary, hoping that he'll return from the dead.
None of this stuff that we get to experience as far as like the Pet Cemetery, the barricade that's supposed to keep people from going up to the actual Indian burial grounds, none of it looks like the stuff from the first movie. And that really blew my mind because, again, it's the same director.
I don't know why. And like, what year did the first one come out? 89?
89 or 88, I think.
So it's only 3 years later.
Yeah.
Maybe not even between productions. So, I mean, you're telling me they couldn't get the same set?
Or at the very least...
Or design it the same?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you have... And exactly, the director's right there. I feel like this was rushed into production.
You don't say.
Yeah. I feel like even though 3 years apart, I feel like they were like, we gotta get on this Pet Sematary 2 train, get this into production.
That's what the people want.
That's right. That's when the money rolls in. So after they bury Zowie in the Pet Sematary, some time passes, and later that night, an angry Zowie returns home with blood red eyes. Mm-hmm. And Gus is like, how could you say you were burying your dog? Because that's what he told him earlier. And he's like, you were burying your dog. Your dog is right here, and he's alive and well, and there's nothing wrong with him at all.
It was real nice of them to go with that innuendo that, Gus was out fucking. What were you doing? Burying my dog.
Oh, God. Oh.
You're welcome.
Meanwhile, so Jesus Drew, or they said they're going to take the dog to the vet, which I guess Anthony Edwards already has like a mobile vet unit.
That was weird.
Right? He just shows up.
I mean, I'm not saying they're unheard of. It was just odd to see it.
It was odd to see it that quickly. Like, he just got to town, 2 days ago?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I got my mobile vet. And when he showed up, that place was a shithole. And now he's got a fucking, mobile unit. So they take Zowie to the vet. He says, oh, there's no heartbeat. Dun, dun, dun. And he takes a blood sample and puts him in the kennel until he feels better. Skipping past this, Drew is grounded, of course, because of this whole thing. Because, you brought your dog back to life. You're grounded.
Yeah, that's what you get for necromancing.
So, but the mom is like, I'm still going to let you go out for Halloween. I'm not a monster. So he and Eddie Furlong... I don't think Eddie Furlong has a costume, does he?
Yeah, I didn't think... Maybe he was going as John Connors from Terminator 2.
Oh, that would have been great. They should have said that.
That would have been delightful.
Who are you going as? I don't know, that whiny kid from that robot movie.
Isn't he a piece of shit?
It just goes on for 5 minutes about how much he hates that character. God, what a dink.
I heard in real life that kid's a real shithead.
Eddie, this you're just ad-libbing at this point. I know. I want to.
It's cathartic. Leave me alone, Mom.
If you can't laugh at yourself, what can you do? So, yeah, I guess Eddie dresses up as John John Connor. Drew is like a vampire.
He's
And,
Eddie Munster, for fuck's sake.
oh, I thought he was just a vampire.
No, I mean, yes, but that kid was dressed as Eddie Munster.
Did they ever specifically say it?
No, they don't. He doesn't say that, but come on.
Okay. No, I'm okay with that. I didn't think the movie knew that. I thought they were just like, he's a vampire. Blah. But they go to the pet cemetery and get jumped by the bullies. But then immediately after, the bullies are just like, let's have a campfire.
But that's the thing. I don't think they were, like, ambushed. Like, they were going there with the intent of hanging out there. And they knew other students from their high school would be there.
But then when they show up, I forgot to mention this too, is they've rigged this, like, woman that dressed exactly like Eddie Furlong's mom.
That's the ghostly woman in, like, a flowing dress.
Well, I think it's supposed to be the same dress, though, because I think that's why he has that vision.
Okay.
Which I'm like, what, did they raid his house?
Well, it could just be a PTSD thing, too.
The housekeeper is in on it. She's actually giving them all the dresses.
Oh, well, she was probably pissed off because Edward Furlong earlier said, "You're not my mom."
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Well, shit.
There's a lot of that. She also has, like, a weird, like, I feel like she has a lot of deleted scenes because I thought they were going for something with, like a sort of romance with her and Anthony Edwards, because they establish at the beginning he takes, like, like you said before we started recording, there's a lot of furtive glances.
Yeah, a lot of meaningful glances from person to person in this thing.
Yeah, and he has one with her, and then he goes, "Oh, sorry, I just didn't expect you to look that good or look like that or whatever."
Yeah.
Which, okay, sure. But you think with that, they're setting up some kind of romance, but she's barely in the movie. But anyway, they're with the bullies at the pet cemetery. The head bully, Clyde, basically tells the story of the first movie and then says that later, Ellie, the baby from the first movie...
No, the daughter.
Oh, the daughter, right.
Gage was the baby.
Right, Gage is the one that, the truck.
Yep.
But they said, he says, Ellie, the daughter from the first movie, then, like, murdered her grandparents and went into a psych ward. And I'm like, why aren't we watching that fucking movie?
Right?
Like, hello.
I even thought that as a kid. Like, why, if they're going to mention, like, what happened to Ellie afterwards, why didn't they just make the movie about what happened to Ellie afterwards?
And they could call it Whatever Happened to Ellie.
Or Pet Sematary 2.
Pet Sematary 2, Whatever Happened to Ellie.
Yeah, there you go.
Long movie titles, it's been researched. Long movie titles always do better at the box office.
Well, just ask the Aquatine Hunger Force movie for theaters.
Or Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events.
Yeah.
Both box office smashes.
Yes.
So, as he tells this story, suddenly Gus shows up because he actually heads home and finds out that Drew is not home and forces the mom to, like, tell him where he is. So he shows up and breaks up the party and just, like, punches Drew in the face. Like,
just goes full on haymakers, just throwing him down on this kid.
Yeah, just, like, unloading. Eddie Furlong is like, oh, fuck, what should I do? But before he can make a decision, Zowie comes back. She's escaped the kennel. Comes in and just murders Gus. And as I said earlier, when I was, like, really upset watching that scene where Zowie dies as a kid, in this scene I remember being, like, cheering
on your feet, cheering, clapping your hands.
Dog revenge.
Hashtag
dog vengeance. But yeah, Gus is just, like, rips his throat out, just murders Gus right there.
Yep.
And the kids are like, what should we do? Oh, I know. You know this person that's unhinged on the regular? Let's bury him in the pet cemetery.
Well, back to the burial grounds.
What? Like, what a stupid idea.
And I just know that this kid has a future as a gravedigger.
He is pretty good.
Clearly, he has a propensity to it. I mean, just a real knack for it.
But it's so crazy. Also, I got a question too, because I know the rules of Pet Sematary is like you bury your own, right?
Yes, that's the idea.
Okay, so does that mean like if they're related to you, or if you killed them, or what?
No, and that's it. Like the idea behind the first one and in the book is that it has to be done by the person who wants the thing to come back to life. So that's why Lewis buries the cat in the first one, because Judd was like, you want this cat back alive, you have to do it on your own. Each buries their own. Those are the rules. So when the cat comes back, yeah, it's antagonistic towards Lewis, but it is now Lewis's cat. Right? Same thing with Zowie. When Gus buried Zowie, he came
Drew
back.
buried Zowie.
Sorry, Drew, not Gus. Sorry, Drew. When Drew buried Zowie, Zowie came back, and I was like, okay, so they're kind of getting this right, because Zowie serves as a protector for Gus. Possessed, but still a protector, right? Later on, though, and the same thing happens with Gus, is because they bury Gus, and he comes back, and he's not as antagonistic towards them at first. It later progresses that they turn on the person that buried them, which I guess did happen in the first one, obviously, but it's still, I don't feel that they were following the rules as tight as they could.
Yeah, for sure. It just seemed a little slipshod with that whole thing.
Yep.
Later that night, Zombie Gus comes home and climbs into bed with Mom with the giant gaping wound on his neck, to which I wrote, gross.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
So he comes back as a rape zombie.
Oh god, that's terrifying.
Just name my next band.
I am Nathan and we are the Rape Zombies. 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, just rape zombie. We are rape zombie.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. You could be like your heroes, the Sex Pistols.
Gross.
Sorry, the Doors. The Doors is what I meant.
Ugh. Awful.
So the next day, Anthony Edwards is at the vet, and some kids come in. These two girls and their mother, and I wrote that they reminded me of the Shining twins.
I think that's the nod they were going for, actually.
Yeah. To someone who wanted absolutely nothing to do with this sequel, by the way.
Yeah.
They were going to write Stephen King's Pet Sematary 2 on the title screen.
And he was like, I don't think so.
Yeah, he was like, no, you're not.
Oh, no. 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 No, no.
I have seen the script, and I am not putting my name on this thing. And to be fair, it's not like Stephen King's never been associated with a bad movie.
Right.
Coming soon.
Should have given you an idea where you were at. Spoiler alert, same thing applies to Lawnmower Man.
Yep.
He said no to that. And interestingly enough, for the longest time, I hadn't read the short story, The Lawnmower Man, and I'd heard about how he said, nope, I don't want my name on it, and I'm suing to get it taken off. I was like, how different was it? And then I read it, considerably different.
I've heard it's like almost a completely different movie.
The only thing that they have in common is that in both the story and the movie, at one point, grass gets cut.
Well, there you go. That's all you need.
That is it.
And Pierce Brosnan is in both.
I don't understand why the people who wrote it, the movie, just couldn't come up with a different title. The Groundskeeper.
Well, I'll tell you what. Lawnmower Man, coming soon, probably.
Oof. What about Job's War? Like that's like the direct-to-video sequel.
Oh boy, small screen shamefuls. So, Pet Sematary 2. Mm-hmm. Those kids go in to get some kitties. And they walk in, and you just... And by the way, before this happens, Anthony Edwards is on the phone, and he finds out that the blood sample he sent in for Zowie was that of a dead animal. Of course it was. And he also finds out, he's like, the last vet that was in that town did the same thing. He keeps sending me samples of dead animals. And he's like, that doesn't make sense.
Yes, because that's where they tie in church, isn't it?
Yeah. Church and... Yeah. But then he hears screaming in the next room, and he walks in, and the kitties have been mauled by Zowie. They are just like...
murdered.
It's brutal, man. It's
fucking
like...
Jackson Pollock painting of cats.
It's just like blood and cat guts like everywhere. So Anthony Edwards is like, okay, something is clearly wrong in the state of Denmark. So he goes and sees a weird taxidermist who basically is like, you just need to get the hell out of that town, and then talks about all the things that happened in the first movie again. Also, he's like stuffing a pug when we meet him.
I know.
You would be more interesting with blue eyes.
Ugh.
So he's weird. Anthony Edwards is like, fuck this shit, runs out of there. And that's the end of that. Back to Zombie Gus. Who's just skinning rabbits in front of, breaking their necks and like skinning them right in front of while the kids are sitting there watching them.
Yep.
And being so disgusting at the dinner table.
Just eating handfuls of mashed potato and
laughing.
Beans, laughing like a fucking lunatic.
And the kids are just like, it's funny.
This is the part where, like, if you want to pinpoint where the movie went off the rails, I would have to say it's the weird taxidermist, because everything just takes a hard right turn into Looneyville.
Oh yeah, this is the tipping point. I mean, it's been dumb up to this point, but it's super dumb central at this point.
Yeah.
So while this is happening too, Anthony Edwards is watching like old movie footage of his wife.
Yeah, her and Eddie both have this obsession with watching her old movies.
Here's the thing. It looks like the movie he's watching was made in like the 50s.
Yeah, apparently she only starred in movies that homaged the B movies of the 1950s.
And also, I'm just going to say, maybe don't watch old movies where your wife's character is killed.
Yeah.
Probably not the best way to get over that.
But if she was if she was a scream queen or something like that, he might have very few choices.
True. That didn't seem like a horror movie though. It just seemed like it looked like fucking Casablanca or something.
No.
But he's doing that, and then he has a nightmare.
Oh my god, the fucking nightmare.
He's having sex with his wife in the nightmare, but then he looks up, and whose head is there?
Zowie's, of course.
So he's fucking like a dog with tits.
It was fucking weird.
It was the weirdest thing. And like Eddie Furlong has like not a similar dream. He's not fucking anyone, but like he has a similar dream where he sees like the dog in his room when the dog's not there or something like that.
Yeah, and then his mom's in the rocking chair.
Yeah, and then it turns into Zowie or something. It's super strange.
Well, no, it does like that weird, the room stretches out so he can't reach out to touch her.
The next day, Eddie Furlong encounters Clyde, the bully.
Oh, before that, him and Drew Buddy have a discussion where they're theorizing on how the burial ground works. Thinking that when the person comes back, they're flipped opposite of what they were like when they were alive.
Right.
Because Gus is kind of gross, but he's not being a total hard ass with Drew, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So after that, Eddie Furlong is chased by Clyde, and he crashes into the woods
for no reason. Like
no reason. Clyde's just he's just the asshole of the movie, and he's like, "I'm gonna put your head in the spokes of your bicycle wheel. I'm gonna cut off your nose or something." Mm-hmm. But then old Gus shows up.
And this, before Gus shows up, this is another point in the movie where time is, or continuity is just tossed out the window because when they're chasing, he grabs Eddie Furlong's bike handles. First of all, those bike handles are BMX. Later on, he's driving a bike with mountain bike handles. But that aside, he runs him off the road at the same pace that his motorcycle's going. But for some reason, Eddie Furlong is down in the gully, and then Clyde walks down the hill to get to him. Wouldn't he be? He should have been a lot closer, is what I'm getting at.
So you're saying it's a flawless shot?
100%.
Yeah, there's like that happens so many times in this movie. Like it's poorly edited too, is the thing. But yeah, so Gus shows up and he basically tells Eddie Furlong to go home, and he fucking backhands Clyde.
Pimp slaps the shit out of him
and starts taunting him with the motorcycle wheel.
Yep.
To his face. Clyde's scarf gets caught in the spokes, and his fucking face is destroyed.
I'm sorry. Did it appear to you that the scarf jumped up into the wheel?
Yeah, like scarves do.
Right.
Like someone pulled it by a fishing line. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. He deserved it for that scarf, though.
But yeah, his face is fucked. So I guess I think it was a mistake at first. Because then Gus is like, whoops. And then he's just like, well, fuck it. I started. I might as well finish the job.
Keep grinding him up.
Keeps grinding him. And you see his face from like a faraway shot. And it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
So he kills him. And then, yeah, so that was my question with the whole burying your own thing. Because then Gus, of course, buries Clyde. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought they had to be related.
But that's it. They don't have to be related. But it's always... This movie... and the reboot or the remake that they did are the only times I've ever seen it explored within the Pet Sematary, I don't know, canon or legend, that something that's dead and comes back buries something else up in the cemetery.
Yeah, I didn't think they could do that.
I thought it was against the rules as well.
Mm-hmm.
So...
When it happened in the remake, too, I got a little angry, too. I was like, what?
No.
Yeah. I think that was one of the only real problems I had with it, was that ending. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought the remake was okay. I thought it was... Anyway, well, I'll get into that another day.
They shit the bed on the end. That's my only qualm with the remake.
The ending was terrible.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, so Gus buries Clyde, and... but... before he does this, Drew drives by, of course, because why not, and sees the whole thing. So and Gus, I guess, doesn't want to go to prison. So
he had seen Clyde coming back and off in the other direction, and he was trying to turn around to go help Edward Furlong, but remember he got tangled up in his bike or some shit. He couldn't get it turned around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just don't understand Gus's motivation. Like, yeah, you saw me kill Clyde. Oh, I don't want to go to jail. I better chase you down. Because he chases down Drew. Drew goes back to the house. For some reason, he uses the key and then puts it back on the hook.
Yeah, that's weird.
And then Gus shows up and starts terrorizing him. Zowie is suddenly, like, aggressive towards Drew now.
Which, again, makes little sense.
Yeah, I guess maybe because Gus is also a zombie, so they're like aligned now. But Gus tries to get at Drew. Drew manages to escape out the door when his mom is showing up. There's so many convenient arrivals of characters. But his mom is showing up in her car. He's like, we gotta get out of here. Gus is trying to kill me. What? Oh my God. Jumps onto the fucking car, and she's like, okay, I believe you. And we get like a high-speed pursuit down the road. Gus runs them into a potato truck, and they fucking murders them. Hashtag wife murder, hashtag child murder.
Hashtag mashed potatoes.
Yeah, the greatest is like the potatoes also crush them, and you just see like her hand sticking out of the pile of potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Gus fucking kills them, and actually that's another, going back to when I watched this as a kid, that's another scene that really caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Because I expected maybe something to happen to the mom, but I did not expect Drew to die.
Yeah, the body count in this one, in comparison to the original, is drastically higher.
Mm-hmm. And unlike the other heavily Maine accented character in the first one, I did not want Gus to live through this. But alas, he has killed them. And now the movie takes an even weirder turn.
The weirdest of fucking turns.
Okay, thank you, because I was like, what did I miss? Because Eddie Furlong at this point just gets super weird, and he's like, I'm going to bring Mom back. I'm going to bring Mom back from the dead. I put all her dresses out, and I've got them all ready to go. And keep in mind, his friend just died.
Yeah.
And he's not even like, I'm going to go bury him. He's just like, I'm getting ready for my mom, got all the stuff out. And then we find out that Anthony Edwards comes upstairs and he's like, this is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. I mean, he goes from 0 to morbid in like no time flat.
There's no fucking setup.
There's no triggering moment, nothing.
Nothing. He's just automatically like, there had to have been a big section cut out.
Had to been.
Had to. Because this movie's what, 100 minutes? Something like that?
Yeah.
I feel like maybe it was close to 2 hours and they were like, we gotta cut some stuff out. Let's cut out the stuff that would make some of the scenes not make any sense. So yeah, he just gets really like weird and morbid, and then he meets up with Gus at the new gravesite for his mother, because Gus has gone to, I guess, where she was buried and stolen her body.
Yep.
And, gives it to Eddie Furlong. He's like, gotta bury your own. And then he starts, like, burying his mom. And I'm just like, why are you working with Gus now, you fucking weirdo? So at this point, Anthony Edwards is like, I don't know what's going on. By the way, I gotta say, too, like, as much as Anthony Edwards, like, he's a fine actor, nothing wrong with him at all. In this movie, there's no life in him. I feel like he has no soul, and I feel like he probably knew this was a piece of shit.
Yeah. If he had even seen the first one, he would know this is a dog. No pun intended.
Hey. So he drives to Gus's house and is attacked by Zowie, but does manage to shoot and, I guess, re-kill Zowie. Yep. Zombie Zowie. And then he starts quipping at this point. He's like, I hate that dog. I'm like, wait, what? When did this become that movie? Like, it's weird. And it's like, it's not even like really set up. Like, but you were the one that cared for him. Okay, sure.
Yep.
But he goes in the house, Zowie is dead, and there is a pretty funny line here. I'll probably just drop this clip in, but I'll say it anyway, just in case.
What are you doing, Gus?
I was building a doggy door.
What's going on around here, Gus? Why did you dig up my wife?
Because I wanted to fuck her.
So they get into a fight. He fucking takes a good... The dog already took a chunk out of Anthony Edwards' shoulder, so he starts drilling into his shoulder wound. But...
And all I could say... My note here was he needs to get to an ER soon.
This is the prequel, Nathan.
Yeah.
This is before he becomes an ER doctor with George Clooney. Anthony Edwards finally manages to get a shot off and kill him, like shoot Gus in the head.
Yeah, in the brain. Yeah.
In the brain. And then I honestly will say this is legitimately the best part of the movie for me, is that he doesn't fall for the stupid horror trope where someone always comes back. He leaves the house, stops, goes back in and shoots Gus like 4 more times. I was like, thank you. Somebody finally fucking did it. This and Scream, the only time it's ever fucking happened. Back at Eddie's house, the housemaid is just trying her shit on, I guess. Trying the dead wife's clothes and makeup on.
Like you said, there had to have been some sort of subplot where there was some sort of emotional connection between her and Anthony Edwards, because I can't see anybody being so forward as to, well, I'm gonna root through their boxes and try on his dead wife's stuff.
Well, yeah, like I said, they had that glance at the beginning, which you would think would lead to something, but then it was just dropped.
Yeah.
So she tries the shit on, and then, who shows up? The dead mom, looking immaculate, by the way.
Yep.
For someone who was who just climbed out of the ground and has been dead for like at least a week or two.
Well, I think maybe he was Edward Furlong was waiting and it did her makeup for her.
Maybe, but like I thought he didn't even see her until after the scene. But she shows up and she fucking stabs the housemaid in her eye, I guess.
Yeah.
And kills her. Meanwhile, we cut to like Eddie Furlong hearing all this and just smiling.
Yeah, like a fucking sociopathic lunatic.
Anthony Edwards returns home. He finds the housemaid's body, and the dead wife is all like, "Hello, dear. We can get back together again. We should try. We should try to work this out." Meanwhile, she's like holding Eddie Furlong close to her bosom.
Yeah, reeking of formaldehyde.
Yeah, Eddie is like, she tells Eddie, "Go downstairs. Let your dad and I talk this out." Goes to leave. Who comes in? Zombie Clyde.
Yeah.
Oh, this movie is...
This fucking movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
So there's a giant fight here. The mom sets everything on fire because why not? And Zombie Clyde gets fucking electrocuted and his head explodes. I gotta say, there's some pretty good gore in this movie.
Yes, considerably more than there was in the original. The first one's pretty bloodless, actually.
There was like, yeah, there was a little bit, but not like excessive.
No, like Victor Pascal at the first, and a bit at the end with Judd. That's about it.
Oh, the ankle thing got me. Yeah.
Oh, and when he gave him the Joker smile too.
Yeah, that was pretty nasty.
Yeah.
So yeah, Clyde's head explodes, and then the mom is like, "I'm melting." She's fucking Wicked Witch of the Westing over here.
Yeah.
Because I guess she's made out of fucking rubber or something.
Well, they would have done that to do facial reconstruction so they could have an open casket.
Right.
Yeah.
So she starts melting and she starts saying, like, because Anthony Edwards has had the shit beat out of him at this point. Like, he's down on the ground. Eddie has to pick him up. And she's like, "Stay with me. We're trying to work it out."
Yeah.
And Eddie Furlong is like, "Peace. I'm suddenly good now."
I'm back. Dump my goth phase. It's over now.
Yeah.
Less than an afternoon.
They escape. The house burns down. The dead wife dies again. And we end with a very strange moment because...
Oh my god, it's the weirdest fucking ending.
Right? Because Eddie Furlong and his dad drive away. And then what do we get as they're driving away?
We get this weird pullback helicopter shot with them driving off into the backwoods, the byways of Maine, leaving Ludlow. But we get like these fucking sign language for the hearing impaired cameo shot of all the people who died in this movie.
Yeah.
Looking super stoked, like happy too.
It's so weird.
My favorite one of the bunch is Drew at the end because he's like, like that's the look on his face. And I know it's a visual gag that I'm doing for an audio podcast, but everybody who heard that knows exactly what face I made.
It's the weirdest fucking choice. Like, oh, let's memorialize all these characters that died. Okay, sure, why not? Anyway, then the movie ends. Pet Sematary 2.
Yep, that's it. Lame. Done.
Oh,
we get
Nathan.
one last flyover of the burial grounds.
Oh, right.
That's
Is that
it.
after the
Yep.
credits?
No, it's just after they do the cameos and the memorializing of the characters who died, they continue with the helicopter shot over the woods of Maine and, of course, over top of the burial ground. Lame.
Yeah. So, with all that being said, Nathan, would you recommend Pet Sematary 2?
No.
No?
No.
I'll say there are elements of it that would maybe be entertaining in a bad movie way, but there's also a lot of stuff that's just infuriating.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I think I hard no on this is just I have such a near and dear place to my heart for the first one that what they did with this one is almost inexcusable.
Yeah, it's a real bastardization of, and yeah, I'm gonna say kinda for me, because like I said, there are parts that are like entertaining in like a this is so stupid kind of way, but no, it's not great. It's not good.
So what you're saying is you can't pass a judgment night?
Oh boy. Going back to that again.
Deep cut.
Oh boy. So, with that being said, Nathan, we're going to take a brief break and we will be right back.
What were they thinking?
What Were They Thinking is brought to you by HostGator. HostGator is a leading provider of shared, reseller, VPS, and dedicated hosting solutions. Award-winning support is available 24/7, 365 days a year via phone, email, and live chat. Discover why over 9 million websites trust HostGator. Use the coupon code SCHLOCK for 25% off your first purchase. That's SCHLOCK, SCHLOCK, for 25% off your first purchase.
What Were They Thinking is brought to you today by GameItAll.com. Whether it's video game news, the latest in music, or movie reviews, GameItAll.com is your one-stop shop for all nerdy talk.
What were they thinking?
And we're back.
Here we are back.
Nathan?
Yes, Brendan.
I think it's time for the low haiku.
Yes, the low haiku. The 17 perfect syllables to represent a wildly imperfect movie.
Yeah, you could say that for sure. So we're gonna get poetic here. So I'll start us off here. Clancy Brown trying. Don't want to be buried in this cemetery.
Eddie Furlong. Mom! Dead dogs and kitty cats, too. Clancy Brown. No!
Good job.
Thank you.
And
Ba-doom!
Badoon, that's the sound now.
Yep.
Badoon, we're back. Oh boy. So, getting right into it, we talked about this movie. We obviously don't care for it too much, but what do we always say, Nathan?
Well, you know what? We always say...
Don't take a word for it.
That's right. Much like last week, we have another case here where critics and audiences are pretty much in line. Not quite as harsh as last week, but not far off.
No.
Critics, 24% on Rotten Tomatoes.
And the audience with a whopping 31.
Oh, 31. Okay.
Yeah.
So, from the critics here, let's take a look. So, from Sean Munro of Flickering Myth, says, better acted than the original, and not without its perverse charms, mostly of the Clancy Brown variety, but a shameless cash-in sequel for the most part.
Fair.
Yeah. I would say some of the acting is actually a little bit better than the original, but...
Well, Clancy Brown.
Yeah, but like... Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. Owen McNally of the Hartford Courant.
That rag.
Now, though, it's time for Hollywood to lay this whole burial ground theme to rest. I'm assuming because he's from Hartford, Connecticut. So
Yeah, it makes sense.
that's why I did the New England accent.
Steve Newton of Georgia Strait says, life's too short to spend an hour and a half of it watching hollow cinematic dreck like Pet Sematary 2. There are some neat gory bits, though.
Well, Paul Orndorff's brother, Brian, says Pet Sematary 2 looks like a feature that quickly slipped out of Lambert's control, and she decided to drive the production into the ground out of spite.
And you can read more at brianorndorff.com.
That's where it's from.
My last one here I'm going to read is from Caffeinated Clint at Movie Hole. He says, an easy sequel to Dig, a hip horror film for teens.
He should be ashamed of himself. He really should. I got last critic one. Felix Vasquez Jr. from Cinema Crazed wrote, it's a sequel that really never should have been made.
Yeah.
That's pretty blunt and to the point.
I agree, Felix. All right, Nathan, audience reviews. Here we go.
All right, I'm prepping myself.
So from Lee
Let's go.
C.
Do this. Do this.
Lee C gives it 3.5 stars.
Mm-hmm.
What a crazy movie. It went from bad acting to almost best acting reward if it wasn't for Silence of the Lambs the same year. What a massive surprise.
Jesus.
I don't know what Lee is talking about, but
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I didn't see that switch. I don't know. Yeah.
No name. Gave it 3 stars. I actually don't mind this one. It's nothing special, but still watchable and sort of creepy.
Gordon T gives it 4.5 stars. Kind of chaotic and loony, yet it offers some interesting excursions into the quote-unquote universe opened by the first movie, and then he gets really excited. Eddie Furlong! Pet Sematary 2 is a well-directed and well-acted, loony and chaotic movie that ends up making sense in a very hallucinatory way, as if you're trying to conceive and write a story while in the midst of an acid trip, presumably. I think a lot of the professional critics are pretty straight-laced and boringly mundane individuals. That's a trip, man.
So he turned it from a review into a movie to an attack on the Hollywood press?
Yeah.
Okay.
All over the map, just like this movie.
Well, we got another anonymous one who wrote, if it wasn't for Clancy Brown's amazingly dedicated performance, this movie would be dead in the water. 4 stars.
Oh, what? You give
4
it 4
stars.
stars just for Clancy Brown?
It had one redeeming performance in it, and they gave it 4 stars.
And he's not in like a ton of the movie.
Nope.
It's crazy. Jimmy M gives it half a star. I got 2 really quick ones here. Jimmy M gives it half a star. Says, Pet Sematary 2 is not that bad, but it's good. Like 80s music. Final boss. This is cuckoo crazy. And then Lisa D also gives it half a star and says, I'm going to read it as it's written. Most differently corny, and I mean that in the wussert way. It pissed me off, that's how lame it was.
Whispered way?
Yeah.
I think she meant worst.
Oh, she did, but it's
Okay.
spelled wussert.
Okay, well, Jesse F. Had a more sane approach to liking one thing about the movie because he only gave it 2 stars, or she only gave it. I don't. Jesse's one of those names.
Yeah.
It's a bad, unnecessary sequel, but Edward Furlong is an enjoyable watch. 2 stars.
That's more sane. I would say 2 stars for one performance that you like is better.
4 stars for Clancy
Brown. Crazy. I mean, I love Clancy Brown, but come on. So I've got one more here. It's from Johnny S, and it's 5 stars, and I might have a stroke in the middle of this.
Okay.
One of the best sequel I saw without cast and but the same director from the first 1989 original, but there's some of mentioned character from the first one original. Edward Furlong came a cast to join sequel film debut since Terminator 2 Judgment Day role as Jeff. Whoa! This movie of the sequel as hell more of much gore and the very violence than the original. Character Gus, played by Clancy Brown from Highlander, turned to a zombie is so little bit weird. Very disturbing with the dead animal and the very creeping.
Oh my god.
That is
How many stars?
5.
Of course. Well, I got one last real quick one. It's
Okay.
for Matthew B. Gave it 1.5 stars, but it's a pretty concise criticism. What a loud of crap.
I love
What a
Star
loud
Wars.
of crap.
What a quiet of crap.
It was quiet crappy.
Oh boy, so those are the reviews. People basically thought the same things, and if they didn't, they apparently were insane. This is what we've gathered from that, right?
That's everything we learned from this movie.
Oh, well, we shouldn't say that. I don't know why we would even say that.
No, weirdos
Such a
talk like
weird
that,
thing
right?
to say. Yeah.
Lunatics.
Mormons, as we said.
Right.
Crazy Mormons. All their wives and such. Editing Deadpool movies and all that shit.
Yep.
But now we should bestow a hint upon the listeners. Nathan will actually be taking the helm for the next 2 episodes because we have a special thing coming up. So, but next week, Nathan, we have another movie coming up to continue Schlocktober. So why don't you give us a little hinteroo?
Dixie Boy Truck Stop.
There you go.
I think it's pretty obvious if anybody who knows it.
Well, there you have it, folks. Dixie Boy Truck Stop.
Yep. Dixie Boy Truck
If
Stop.
anybody's seen it, you'll probably know. But
Yes.
now, Montrose Monkington, are you there?
Yes, I am here, Brendan. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, you're welcome.
Then thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well, you're most welcome. Thank you.
You're
you
welcome.
may. Thank you. You may say your piece now.
Okay. Hello, it's your good friend Montrose Monkington III here. As I always like to say on this fantastic podcast, check out Montrose Monkington TV over on YouTube. You can also be friends with me on the Facebook, Montrose Monkington III Esquire and Friends. And you can also follow me on your little Twitter devices at Montrose III. That's the number 3RD. Thank you. More later.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Sure.
Thank you.
It's okay.
It's been a pleasure.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I do. You're welcome.
Thanks.
You're no problem. Yep.
Escaped again.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, thank you, Montrose. And of course, if you
You're
want to
welcome.
find us on the social media, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for What Were They Thinking. Find us on Twitter and Instagram at WWTT Podcast. We're on all the podcatchers: Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, not Podcoin, RIP. We're also on patreon.com/WWTT Podcast. You can sign up for lots of cool things on there. We have several bonus episodes on there right now, actually. Rocky V, Justice League, and Alien vs. Predator. So you can check those out exclusively to Patreon.
Every last one of them, gold.
Gold nuggets of truth. And you can also find us on TeePublic and Redbubble. Just search for our podcast on there. You will find stuff. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
So Nathan, Pet Sematary 2.
Yeah. Yes, Brennan.
I don't know what you could possibly have queries about, but do you have any questions?
Well, I do.
Okay.
I mean, when a studio can get the original director from the first movie,
A rare gem.
a rare gem and a rare feat indeed. And the previous director, or that the previous movie by the director actually turned out a good product. People enjoyed it.
Made money.
Yes, it did. And having both of those things in place, to go ahead and take all of the original ideas that she had for the script and how it was to be shot and just throw them all into a giant dumpster fire. For those studio executives who I'm sure later went on to work with Ralph Bakshi and Henry Selick, I just have to ask you, each and every one of you, what were they thinking?
Was A Quiet Place inspired by Signs, It Comes at Night, and War for the Planet of the Apes? Was Ready Player One influenced by Avatar, Wreck-It Ralph, and The Last Starfighter? Is The Hurricane Heist more influenced by Sharknado or Geostorm? These are the kinds of questions my guest co-hosts and I discuss on my podcast, Piecing It Together. Every week we look at a new movie and try to figure out what other movies inspired it. Whether it's the story, the character development, tone, or even use of music. Every movie was influenced by something that came before, and we want to figure out what. Check out Piecing It Together on your favorite podcast app or check us out on piecingpod.com. You can also follow us on social media at piecingpod. Piecing It Together is a part of the All Points West podcast network.